It's the After the Show podcast, precious.
We don't care, we're about to swear on the air. It's the After the Show, so tune in if you dare. KVJ, get risque every single day. It's uncensored. We can say what we want to say.
Well, here we go. Welcome to the KVJ After the Show podcast. It is Tuesday, and Virginia is headed to the Bahamas to deliver some items that we collected through KVJ Nation. Thank you guys so much for those donations. Going to be very handy for the friends and family we have over there. Appreciate it.
Don't worry, Kev, I'm still here in spirit.
Yeah. She threw out over the radio before she left. Well, I hope I don't die. You'll see me unless I die in a plane crash. Might die, Kev.
Yes.
Yeah, so there's that. We'll see. Wishing her lots of luck in that trip.
There's that Cajun positivity we love from her.
I know, right? At least she finally did it to herself, though. Normally she throws out that doom for somebody else.
Right.
Yeah, but she caught that today. Let me see. Some stuff that we got here earlier on the show. We were talking about actors that did such a great job in a role that nobody else could step in and do it. It's just done. Forget about it. We got a lot of them. I mean, it was like Tom Hanks, Forrest Gump, and, some of those. There was like, no way anybody else ever going to do that. What do you think about Mark Hamill with Luke Skywalker? Could you make that claim, or could basically any other dude stepped into that role and it'd been okay?
It's tough to say because you know him very well as that role, but I would say he's more replaceable than Harrison Ford as Han Solo. I think Han Solo brought his own. I think Harrison Ford brought his own swag to that character to make it really, really his own.
I agree. I think there's just got to be something that they have done in that role. Like Tom Hanks did that in Forrest Gump. He heard the kid that played young Forrest talking, and he talked a little bit like this.
That's a real story?
Yeah, that's where he got that from. The kid that was wearing the braces on his shoes. And he heard him talking, and he just tried to kind of mimic how that kid talked, because that kid was legitimately from Greenbow, Mississippi. And he's like, okay.
Tell you what, your gump is, you got a good gump, homie.
I've seen it a lot. And so he went with it. But, he did it. That's one where I'm like, it had to be Tom Hanks, and it couldn't be anybody else. And that's why some of these, I think you can debate. Abby said Daniel Radcliffe is Harry Potter. I don't think he did anything special in that. Now, you knew him, and he played the role well, and he played it for, 7 or 8 movies, however many they had, so you got really used to him. But was there something special about how Daniel Radcliffe did Harry Potter that they couldn't have found somebody else to do it?
I think you are swimming in waters you don't know very well. I think Potter fans would fight you and say
they could, 'cause
he's
they're
the only
passionate.
one that could do Potter.
But they're too close to it. They're too close to it. Like, again, another one is Johnny Depp, playing Captain, whatever the hell he was.
Sparrow.
Yeah,
Jack
Captain
Sparrow.
Jack Sparrow.
So I think if there is a situation where it's an iconic character and more than one actor nailed it, you have to kind of they're out of the running, because I think Heath Ledger is amazing as the Joker.
Yeah.
But also Jack Nicholson was as well. He didn't suck at the Joker, so they both had their own thing. So yes, 2 people could play that.
Right. Another one that's maybe debatable here. Monica said Michael J. Fox in the Back to the Future movies.
1000%.
No one else could have done that.
He brought a different kind of energy, man. That's tough. They had to even fire the guy before him.
He did become, and then, that was an accredited actor before him that had done some stuff.
But could anybody do Doc Brown? 1.21 gigawatts. I don't know, Marty.
Who do you think is more replaceable? Who did a better job with their role?
Gosh, that's tough, man.
Because Doc Brown was pretty unique. I mean, he brought an energy to that really made Doc Brown pop. And, Marty was, he has a great energy. And look, he's very likable. Michael J. Fox, and that's what you wanted Marty McFly to be. And he was that. And other actors may not have had that kind of energy, but could you have gotten somebody else in a pinch and the movie's still been successful?
You're right. That's a good, Doc Brown might be tougher to replace.
Arguably.
Yeah.
Arguably.
I love that movie.
Here's one this is an odd twist on this, but what about James Earl Jones as the voice of Darth Vader? Now, this is a little bit of a twist, and it's not him playing the role, but could you imagine if it was another voice?
Nah.
Other than James Earl Jones is the voice of Darth Vader. Luke, I'm your father. Hey. Ew. Imagine if that was Darth's voice. You'd be like, who is this guy? Who's behind that? Who's in that helmet?
Definitely takes away the scary factor.
Luke.
Luke, hey, it's me, Darth Vader. I'm your father.
You don't know the power of the dark side.
That would be funny if somebody took out all...
Overdub it?
Yes.
And here he did all the way. You could easily do it because his lips aren't moving.
Yeah, Luke, I'm your father.
Luke, I'm your father. You must meet the Emperor. Hey, 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 hey.
Hey, what about sister?
Sister?
That's fun.
Yeah, so I would say that, voice-wise, it couldn't have been anybody else. Abby said Jim Carrey and Ace Ventura: Pet Detectives. Yeah.
Yeah, because that was almost his character.
Well, that was just Jim Carrey in the mask. Jim Carrey and, hey, I'm goofy, faces and all that stuff. I mean, that's just Jim Carrey.
Yeah, that's him bringing that to life. So I would agree with that.
Well, because somebody brought up Michael Myers earlier, and they said in the Austin Powers movies, and it's about the same thing. Where Michael Myers is just Michael Myers. In fact, Michael Myers, it's almost like you have Austin Powers as Elon Musk on SNL now.
It really is.
It's not far from the same. It's like, it sounds a lot like Austin Powers.
If someone created their own character, it's tough for them to kind of play the game because it's their thing. But for example, Steve Carell, that was written as Michael Scott. He came in there and completely made it his own. And brought something to that no one else could.
Right. They have an energy. And I would say when you have like a Vince Vaughn at Old School and Wedding Crashers and all that, to me, Vince Vaughn is the only one that can do Vince Vaughn. He's unique, and he was perfect in the roles that he had.
I'm not sure the last time you saw the movie Swingers with Vince Vaughn.
Yeah.
If you haven't
it's been a while, but
you should revisit it.
Yeah.
It's a good movie.
It's good, and it's solid. And Vince Vaughn, no one else can, do what Vince Vaughn needs to, and sometimes you just got to be in there. See, any other recommendations? No, that's it. But yeah, it was solid, and it's a good debate, and you'll never know because you're never going to have those movies, where you're going to have that. So it's a fanciful discussion, but
yeah, it's a good talk to have over a couple beers or something.
Absolutely, yeah.
Unless you're not a beer drinker.
And, whatever it is you do. Whatever it is you do. Boy, I tell you, I got quite an education on Wayne Wonder today.
I know.
From Yasix, yeah.
People are talking shit towards me because I was talking shit towards him.
Yeah, well, I only knew one song, and I'm like, okay, this guy's a one-hit wonder. But he did have another song that hit, and I'm trying to figure out how because I'd listened to it. I'd never heard it. It's called Saddest Day. But I guess he did some slow jams. And he was kind of like a love, rock, R&B, love music artist. And it was huge in New York City, especially those from Jamaica and all the islands in the West Indies there. So
it's weird, too, because depending on what goes on in my life, I could love a genre. For example, I loved R&B music back in slow jams back in the 90s up until I got out of college and I started listening to country. And I dropped out of R&B for a while, and then I dropped out of country for a while. And it's odd, just certain points in your life, at least for me, I'll drop out of a genre, then I'll come back to it.
Yeah, and there are genres that they have an era where it was, not for hip hop, for country and R&B. The 90s, I think a lot of people will look back at that and say R&B was strong in the 90s. There was just a lot of really great songs that brought in people who typically listen to other different genres of music.
Yes, I would agree.
And same with country. I mean, even now, new country songs out in 2024, 2025, they reference being 90s country fans. And
that's when I got into it.
Yeah, because you had Garth and you had a strong amount of, crossover country hits.
And I heard that when Garth first got into country, the old dogs and the traditional dogs did not like him at first because he was a little bit more poppier and he wasn't more traditional country. And it took a minute for him to get the respect, not from the fans, but from the people within.
Yeah,
I've heard other country people talk about that.
Country's very much that way. It reminds me a little bit of baseball and how they're purists and they don't want it to change. They want it to stay as is. And look, nothing ever stays the same. You just got to get used to that and realize the times roll on and you got to always adapt. I mean, if you don't, then you're going to wind up extinct. And yeah, country's really gone through that now because there is a lot. Country is very poppy. I listen to songs now and there is no differentiation between some of those country songs and pop, and we play already some of them, and a lot of them sound like what was pop music in the 80s, 90s, whatever. So, yeah, it's different.
Have you ever seen Garth Brooks' social media, him do social media stuff?
Not really, no.
You should check it out.
What does he do?
It's pretty uncomfortable.
Like, what is it?
He just...
Life advice or what?
No, you can tell he's like, hey, what's going on, y'all? I'm just going to just do some social media, talk to you. Why don't you come on out? Because, I just really like that. It's odd. You watch it and you go, huh.
So he's just sitting there talking?
Yeah, it's almost hard to explain. It comes off a little creepy.
Okay.
You should check it out.
Garth's creepy?
It just comes off weird.
Yeah.
It comes off odd.
All right. And then so what, on Instagram or what platforms do you use?
Any of them.
Yeah, he's an interesting dude. I mean, I saw they did a documentary on him that I did watch. I think it was on Netflix. And it was interesting, and he did, kind of a bit of that. But I'll check it out, though. Old Garth.
You probably won't, but it's okay.
Probably not. I'll forget about it in 2 minutes.
I'll send you the highlights so you can kind of see what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I'd like to see his finer moments.
The comedian Tom Segura, he does a whole thing about a lot of his social media. That's kind of what got me on it. They kept playing the clips on their podcast.
Oh,
and they were
Garth
highlighting
Social?
some of the weird, Your Mom's House. That's the name of their podcast, I believe. And they're just kind of highlighting how fucking weird he is on social media and how awkward it is.
Yeah.
And it's a good watch.
Well, now I got to check it out. Now you got me on the hook. I got to see what's going on with Garth and his social. Yeah, what is going on with those charges he has? It'll be interesting to see what happens if that ever goes to court.
That got quiet.
It did. And, maybe it's just partially you're waiting for it to go to court and then it fires back up again. Yeah, I don't even know where they are with that. And who knows? It could just disappear because maybe they finally came to an agreement and he pays her the right amount of money. She's like, all right, that's cool. I'll shut up now. It's all good. Derek said, yesterday you're talking about the infamous drunken podcast from 2015. And you all renamed yourself. Jaybird was Milo. And you renamed Fran from Twisted Trunk to Zane. And that's actually where we got the name for our son, Colson. His middle name is Zane, specifically because of that podcast. We actually named him Zane Colson, but then we decided to do Colson Zane Rogers. Just thought it was a nice little fun fact you guys might want to throw around.
That's amazing, by the way.
How about that? Yeah.
That is so awesome.
That podcast named a child. Even if it's a middle name, I'll take it.
That is crazy. I fucking love it.
How about that, huh?
Well, we're due for one of those kind of podcasts again.
Yeah, it's crazy. What a time that was. Michelle said on the show today, you mentioned Trump in town. I think that would have been from a Monday. Yeah, because I was talking about how, I don't know what it is. I have a knack for always catching his motorcade. And it's always when we have an appointment and I'm just cutting it close. Like I'm just going to make it on time. Same thing on Saturday. We didn't set the appointment for the morning because I'm like, you know what? Trump's playing golf. He's going to be on the road in the morning. And so we set the appointment for 12:45. I said he'd probably be in the middle of his round. And then we tried to get on 95, and sure enough, FHP right there, not going anywhere. Had to wait, and we're late for the hair appointment. And then had to, when you show up late for a hair appointment, they skip over you. And that wound up, it took an extra hour plus for Cannon to then get back in.
That sucks.
Yeah, so basically catching that motorcade, just wasted 90 minutes of a Saturday.
When I got my hair cut, their air condition was it was 110 degrees.
No, it's not good.
It was awful.
Yeah. So he said, you mentioned how you got stuck behind the motorcade. Well, my husband was trying to get over to the beach at Phipps with my daughter, but he's a pool guy, and he tried to go over the bridge, and they looked, and they saw that he had chlorine, a ton of chlorine in the back of his truck, and they're like, you're not getting over this bridge.
Wow.
Yeah, because I guess that could be an explosive ingredient.
That sucks.
And yeah, he was not even allowed. They turned him away from even getting close, which, yeah, I guess. It's stuff you don't even think of.
I
'Cause,
know.
mean, we're living our life and going about it, but that's why I try to pay attention to whenever that stuff is going on. Because I'm just like, all right, to get around.
They have to, though.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's one of those things where you even try to hesitate even mentioning any political names because people get triggered.
Why? Who's yelling at you now?
Nobody, but it's something you do consider, and I'm like, it's nothing. I'm not making any kind of political statement. I'm just saying that it's sometimes tough to get around when you've got a president that's a tool in your streets because they shut things down. So
I
you're
remember
living your life. That's the way it goes.
I remember you talking, and I mean, I've heard you talk about both sides on it, so it's all good.
But Tiffany had said, I know your show avoids politics, and rightfully so, but I saw Jon Stewart on The Daily Show interview a Republican economist named Orrin Cass last week on Monday, and OMG, they gave each other the intellectual business that I love so much about tariffs. I walked away thinking, gosh, I wish we all had this kind of patience with each other's views. We don't have to agree, but we can freaking listen. 2 ears, 1 mouth. Not an accident. And if you don't understand the other person, ask them to dumb it down for you. You're not born smart, for crying out loud. Ask questions, and if they can't help you understand, find someone who will, but don't shrug it off. This is all God's country, and we're all his stewards. I've learned so much from listening to everyone so far in my life. Not all good info, but definitely not boring and not all bad. I can't wait to see what new info tomorrow will bring. If you're not learning, you're not living. Love you guys and the show so much. Keep being saucy. Thank you very much, Tiffany. And thank you for that. Put that on my radar. I'll check that out.
Yeah, I like listening to political stuff. I don't like talking about it just because no matter what, you are pissing somebody off. And I just want to try my best to make the good people laugh as much as you can.
Yeah.
Because there's so many places to get that now. I mean, political commentary is through the fucking roof.
Yeah, it's nonstop.
It's
and everybody's
everywhere.
doing it. Yeah, but I will say that I really do like in the last couple of weeks, there have been a couple of conversations where they are taking people on opposite sides and they're having a civil discussion. And for somebody like myself sitting in the middle, just trying to learn and understand a subject better, it's refreshing. And I hope that this becomes the trend rather than just continually yelling at each other and trying to enrage each other. Because it is nice. And look, it is stuff that impacts your life. When you're talking about grocery bills and all that kind of stuff and, your role in voting and how you can make a change and pick things the way you like.
Oh, yeah. And I'm not, it's not that I'm against talking about it. I just know that it can get it starts to not get fun. And I like having fun in here. I like being goofy, but there's times where you do have to report on a story. There's times you have to talk about certain things. People will go, "Why are you guys talking about this?" Well, we can't also put our heads in the sand either.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, so thank you for that. There are a couple other different instances. The governor of California, Gavin Newsom, had Charlie Kirk on. Good conversation if you want to hear that. And then Bill Maher went to the White House to hang with Trump. So that'll be an interesting conversation.
Did he really?
Up. Yeah, he did last week. So
that,
yeah.
I would like to hear that.
Well, I think they're finally saying things have gotten so bad. We need to start listening to each other and have a civil conversation with one another. So I encourage that. I hope everybody would start doing that. Breaking it down here, talking about the marijuana, which is another fascinating discussion, and the speed bumps on getting recreational marijuana. There's a lot in it. Like, that's the one thing I discover. Some of these topics are so complex and so hard to understand that you just really have to listen to even try to understand a fraction of what goes into making these decisions. And our buddy Ryan in Lake Worth Beach, he said, you guys were talking about the legality of marijuana vape cartridges, and somebody said a cop told you it's a felony. Well, the emailer was right. I've seen many probable cause affidavits here in Palm Beach County where somebody was slammed with felony marijuana possession over 20 grams. Now, I know what many people are thinking. Why is it a misdemeanor to possess 19.99 grams of marijuana, but 20 it becomes a felony? How do they come up with that arbitrary number? It's all according to a Florida statute, blah, blah, blah. And then basically it goes on with a bunch of complicated legal bullshit. ChatGPT makes things so easy. So it says law enforcement typically weighs vape oil cartridges differently than regular marijuana. And I guess that's what it comes down to. So why did they come up with 20 grams? It is a threshold that's been in place for decades, dating back to the state's early drug laws. So a lot of times that is it. They just had it that way and they never changed it. It's not like it's anything great scientific. That's the way it's always been. That's how we always do it. So that's what they said.
Yeah, it's if you can get your weed card, you don't have to worry about anything. You know, it's a peace of mind. I know not everyone can afford that. I get that. But it is a peace of mind for sure.
Yeah, and after I kind of got myself a little bit more entrenched in the discussion with it, I am a little pessimistic that they're ever going to do recreational.
I've given up on that.
Yeah, I think as the more I read about it, the more that I'm probably there as well. So we'll see.
Hey, you know, I'd love to be pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, it'd be really nice. One thing that is changing the game, I thought this was kind of a crazy number, is how the weight loss drugs are knocking back the obesity epidemic in America. They say in 2024, the proportion of American adults who are obese dropped from 42 to 40.3%. That's done in 3 years. That's the equivalent to 4.1 million people reversing their obesity. That's a pretty stunning number.
That is, because everyone's always calling us, you know, the obese fatties of the world.
Where I think we're like number 1 or number 2, maybe. There's one island nation that's maybe fatter in America. And that was, I think, maybe 2023 numbers. But they say the rate could drop by another 10.6% over the next 5 years.
I'm wondering, too, if they have stats on people using those drugs and losing the weight, and if they have decreased their alcohol consumption. Just because the people that I know that are on it, they who were big drinkers, they go, I'm barely drinking anymore.
Yeah.
They go, I'm not craving it.
Yep.
And even if I have one, I just want one.
Yep.
I would love to know those numbers if that even exists.
It's got to be a really tough time for the alcohol industry right now because they're getting hit for many different reasons. And I know my wife, she does the Red Mountain weight loss, and they upped her dosage. And she's lost some weight because of it. And same thing. She said, I almost got to intentionally grab a glass of wine or whatever it is I want to drink because I don't even have the urge at all. She said it's killed. It's done.
I'm talking about...
And she's drinking less.
Yeah, I'm talking about 8 or 9 people that I know that's on this stuff that they are, or drinkers. They're not really drinkers anymore.
Right. It's pretty amazing. Yeah, what it's doing. And then, you know, on top of it, you've got all these different cocktails in the market. You got the proliferation of marijuana, weed, tinctures, everything else that you're doing out there, gummies, that's happening a lot. And then you got other people that just say, you know what, no, I want the sober life. I don't even want to get into the booze.
For sure.
So, yeah, it is really crazy. I mean, I'm sure there are a lot of concerned people that are in the alcohol business saying, I mean, will our industry ever return to the glory days of what it was? They probably loved the pandemic because remember that? Everybody was getting fat and drinking.
Well, everyone was doing, it's 11 a.m. You're drinking. It's COVID. Ah, you're right.
Right. So they went really from seeing probably the golden years to all of a sudden, I mean, what a turn for the alcohol industry.
I mean, I think alcohol's always going to be around because, first of all, not everyone's going to be on these weight loss drugs.
Yep.
And two, people still like getting fucked up. People still like having a buzz, getting that. I don't think alcohol's ever going away, but
No.
I can see it taking a hit, like you're saying.
Well, but it does, when you have an industry like that, it means, some people might get laid off, might get fired. They may, downsize the industry to a point, and some of the fat cats in it may not be as fat. They said researchers said Ozempic and other weight loss drugs are behind all the rapid drops. So there you go, kind of changing it. And it'll be interesting, too, to see, because right now, we're really going after with RFKs, and they're trying to clean up our food. And this was an interesting study about comparing traditional African diets to a Western style. They said just transitioning from a traditional African diet, which is abundant in vegetables, fiber, and fermented foods, to a Western style one for just 2 weeks was found to trigger inflammation, compromise immune response, and activate pathways associated with chronic diseases.
Wow.
I mean, what a condemnation on the crap that they have us putting in our bodies here in this country. So, I mean, that's a statement right there. They say the research emphasizes the significant role of diet in immune function and metabolic health.
When we start our cult on that compound and we all live together, we'll grow our own fruits and vegetables.
I guess the way to do it.
Yeah, that's what we'll do.
Yeah. I think you got to be into it. So, what exactly is the Western diet? Well, here's some new products for you to check out.
Swiss cake rolls.
Yeah. Cheez-It has introduced a new frozen Cheez-It pizza.
I mean, I'll try it.
This might not be bad. It says it combines the iconic cracker flavor with pizza. The pizzas feature a Cheez-It cracker thin crust, real cheese, and are ready in 8 to 10 minutes. And I wouldn't know that that would work if it weren't for a pizza called Emo's. They're out of St. Louis. When I lived in Kansas City, they had one little chain that was not far from where my work was. And so we get Emo's pizza all the time. And it is a cracker crust. It's like a thin, crispy crust. It really works. It was so good. It's almost like if you go with the Domino's thin crust that's kind of crunchy and it's almost like a cracker crust.
I love a cracker crust. I think I love thin pizza. I think it's great. I like thick pizza too, but there's a definitely big place in the world for a thin pizza.
Yeah, so who knows? This might actually work. They're going to be available in Italian 4-cheese, pepperoni, and cheddar Jack Supreme.
The problem is a lot of those frozen pizzas really do suck donkey dick. They don't taste...
Right.
It's not even they taste chemically. They just don't taste good. They're bland. They're shit. There's a few that are decent.
Okay.
But majority of them really don't hit that hard. And,
really?
I know I'm a guy that's talked about Totino's pizza.
Yeah.
I get it. It's shit pizza. It's not for everybody. And that's what I want to be bad.
So you're saying that the stuff that you get store-bought is much different than going into a pizzeria?
It's not even close.
Different category almost.
It's a different category. 1,000%.
Yep. And here's another thing to check out. Pop-Tarts has teamed up with Girl Scouts to create 2 new varieties, Frosted Coconut Caramel and Frosted Thin Mints.
I don't know. It's not really doing it for me.
They say the flavors were inspired by Caramel Delight cookies, also known as the Samoas, and then the Thin Mints.
Okay, they're doing the Caramel Delight. Just call it Caramel Delight then.
Yeah, they're going Frosted Coconut Caramel. Yeah, I don't know why. You would think if they're working with the Girl Scouts, like, give us the name.
Give us the name.
Samoa Pop-Tart or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, they said it's going to be available nationwide with a larger 32-count packs. You can check them out in warehouse clubs like Costco.
32-pack.
Right.
Just in case you really want to.
Everyone else trying to get skinny, not you, my friend.
32
You get a 32-pack of Girl Scout Pop-Tarts.
You really can buy shitty food in bulk.
You really can.
You can.
Yeah, you really can. And here's another fun product that Smita sent us.
I saw her over at the Crawfish Festival.
Okay.
She got me. She's the one that got me all those glasses, those pairs of glasses.
Available at Publix. You can try Nut Pods for free. I don't know what the hell is that. Dish soap? What is Nut Pods?
A nut pod. Do you eat it?
I don't know. Like, what? Why do they have? It looks like it's a dish soap, but what the hell is a Nut Pod?
Nut pod living in the movies? I have no idea.
I have no idea what a nut. I mean, it sounds like it'd be something that would be a detergent, but the word nut
makes it think it'd be food.
Right. So, what is this thing? Yeah, I don't know. They got Nut Pods unsweetened French vanilla creamer. Yeah, that's what it is. So I don't know what the hell that. Oh, I guess that's a creamer. I thought it was a detergent. No, it's some kind of like maybe a coffee creamer.
Boy, I put that in my laundry. What the fuck, Kev? I thought it was detergent.
Yeah. Gonna drink your detergent. You're gonna put your coffee creamer in your washing machine. Yeah, I gotta get that one set up straight. Yeah, you don't want to get confused on that. I got some numbers out here. We talked briefly about White Lotus Season 3, and it had record-breaking viewership, 6.2 million viewers, a 30% increase from the previous high. They say the season overall has seen strong ratings, with the premiere garnering 2.4 million viewers and the finale getting 6.8.
I've said it before, it's pretty tough for HBO to do a shitty show. Not to say that they haven't done one, but they get a pretty high Rotten Tomato score.
I've just heard a lot of mixed reviews on White Lotus Season 3.
But it's got its fans, though.
It does. It does.
Got, I mean...
And like I said, with mixed, you're getting a lot of good, and you're getting some that are like, it was okay, but maybe not amazing. And what do you think about a new Monopoly competition series?
I For TV?
Yep, Netflix.
I love Monopoly. What the fuck would that be about?
It sounds like, because, the way they had it set up today, it confused me because I guess they previously had a Monopoly game show. It looked like it was kind of like a scene, almost like the game show if you ever seen Press Your Luck or one of those older ones. Kind of looked like that. But this is going to be a reality show that features alliances and betrayals in a capitalist race. You know how you always talk about you like to screw somebody over and play all that kind of stuff? I think that's more the path they're going.
Street Rules Monopoly is one of my favorite games to play.
Yeah, it seems like it might be more of kind of like a Survivor or Amazing Race or what is a Big Brother, something like that, where it's conspiring, alliances, trickery.
Look, if
deception.
Usually you have somebody that's the banker at Monopoly. If they get up to go pee and they don't protect the money, that's on them. Mm-hmm. That's how you play Street Monopoly.
Well, it might be the same with this. And it's probably not a bad strategy. I guess Netflix has gobbled up a lot of intellectual properties of brands that saying, you know what, when we launch something with a recognizable name, we have such a better chance of it becoming a hit than if we're trying to break in a whole new word.
I don't know, man. I kind of disagree with that a bit.
That's their strategy, and that's where they're putting their money, and that's why they bought the Monopoly name to be able to do this.
I mean, I think there's definitely truth to that, but that also that kind of doesn't encourage people to try anything new, and you do need new shit out there. You have to.
I think they do, but here's the thing: Netflix can't do all. Let's take a shot and see how it works, because you got to have some bona fide hits in there, and you probably. I'm sure it's such a business for them. They have it broken down, saying, okay, 4 out of 5 have to be something that we feel is going to hit. And then 1 out of 5, we've got a good writer, got a good cast. We're going to put some money behind it, and let's see how it goes.
They sure as shit put any comedian on there. I mean, there's so many comedians on there that you never even heard of that get special.
I know.
So they don't mind rolling the dice on that.
Some people said it's the golden age of comedy for that reason, because of Netflix and what they've done with it.
Yeah, I think it's the golden age of comedy when to get paid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Getting financially, yes, I think it's the golden age. Is it the golden age as it being the best overall? That's debatable.
So who would you say is the comedian that is, in a sense, where Dave Chappelle was 20 years ago? That you're saying this guy's or this girl is going to be absolutely huge.
Up and comer right now, I would say your Shane Gillis is up there.
Okay.
He's got a lot of heat, or good heat behind him.
Yeah.
There's a lot of comedians out there that are popular that I don't personally like, that people think they're just hilarious. They're not my cup of soda.
Who's the girl that she seems like she's doing well, that hosted
Nikki Glazer?
Yeah, Nikki Glazer.
Yeah, she's up there. Yeah, she's popular.
She seems like her career's taken off.
She's been around forever, though. I remember her being popular when she did the roasts.
It feels like she's kind of gone into another level of mainstream fame, though, that she didn't have. And was it because of the Tom Brady roast? Is that where she really didn't she kill it on that? And she kind of elevated herself a bit.
I always kind of knew her as always kind of being one of the better roasters out there. Now, there's a difference between, I think, roasting and then being a stand-up comedian. They're both in the same world.
Yeah.
But there are comedians that are known to be roasters, and then they're like Jeffrey Ross is known to be a roaster.
Right. Yeah.
He does stand up as well.
Yeah, but
his thing is
no one does it like him.
He's considered one of the better ones.
Yeah. And in the chat room, Mike had said, check out Kill Tony, which I know I've kind of done a little bit. That's Tony Hinchcliffe.
I
right?
watched that a lot.
Okay.
I'm not personally a big Tony Hinchcliffe fan. I don't think he's that funny. I know people love him. They think he's hilarious. He's not my favorite.
He's just a guy who really kind of says something that's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you said it.
Yeah, he does a lot of the roasting.
Yeah.
But he's the one that hosts the Kill Tony show. And what that is you usually have about 5 or 6 people on a panel. They have the person come up. That's they draw a name. They give them a minute. Yeah.
To do some
and then
comedy.
they shit on them if they do terrible.
Yeah. Well, that's a nerve-wracking crowd, huh?
Yeah, there's some funny stuff that comes out of it, but it's raw. There's some uncomfortable moments that come out of it as well.
Yeah, they're bringing that to West Palm. They're going to be at the Kravis Center, I think.
There was one dude that came up there, and he was on mushrooms, and he fought he tried to beat up the guy playing the saxophone.
No way, really?
Because the guy with the saxophone, Jeremiah Watkins, made a joke about the guy, called him, I think, an ugly garbage pail kid. Yeah. And the guy in mushrooms fucking tried to fight him.
Did he really? That's amazing.
Stage.
Okay,
so
that's pretty good.
You don't know what's going to happen either.
Yeah. Okay, that's pretty good. A couple other comments on here. RJ said Taylor Thompson is funny. You ever heard of Taylor Thompson?
Yes.
What do you think of Taylor Thompson?
You know, all right.
Just okay. All right. Yeah, trying to figure out who that next big name is going to be. Well, Netflix is there to bankroll him and try to give him a platform. So we'll see where it is. All right. Well, thank you for all the emails. You can always get through to us. Mail at kvjshow.com. Virginia is off to the Bahamas, but she'll be back tonight, so she'll be back in with us tomorrow. So regular old KVJ show. We'll see you back here then. Goodbye.